Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lovecraft Country by The Verdicts In. I'm your host, Nicole.
I'm Gary.
And today we're talking about Lovecraft Country, episode 4, entitled A History of Violence. Gary, what are your overall thoughts of the episode?
This was a pretty good episode. And I knew there was going to be a callback to the little globe machine thingy that his aunt found. What's her name? Hippolytus?
Yeah, Hippolyta.
Hippolyta. I was close.
Yeah.
But I knew there was going to be something to that.
Yep, you kept saying it.
Yeah, because I knew they wouldn't have shown that for no reason at all.
Right. And we see she did take it. So.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, that's weird.
That is weird.
That she went in there, saw it, and put it in her handbag.
Yeah.
Put it, like, no one seen her carry that out.
That big old thing wouldn't fit in a handbag. I don't know. That's why I was surprised that Letty didn't know about it either.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, she put it in her handbag, put it in her pocket. She had to carry that bit, and I know it's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody seen her struggle to the car.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I'm tripping, or I'm most excited, I guess, to see for next week or this week coming up is how Montrose is going to get rid of the dead body of the dead person that became alive and then he killed again, and why. Like, he has so much knowledge that we don't know he knows. Like, he did a lot of reading, and who knows what he experienced when he was at the lodge. So I wonder why I don't know.
I understand why he did that, but we'll get to there.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
I would love to hear your theories. So it starts off, and we see Montrose, he's fighting his demons, and we do see him burn the Order of the Ancient Dawn. At the time when he burned it, I thought he just kind of wanted to be done with it, because you hear him, hear his past thoughts of him and George talking and saying, you're the only one that Tick has left. So I figured he just did not want to be involved in this anymore.
Exactly. I think he got rid of it. I think he was telling the truth when he said that your Uncle George wanted me to protect you.
Right.
So in order to protect you, we got to leave this BS alone.
Right.
All this bull alone.
I'll leave it all behind us. Well, we see Christina. She was already in town last week. Go ahead. So Christina was already in town last week, and that's when we saw that Tick was going to try to kill her. He didn't give a damn. But this week, she goes to Letty's house, and she can't come in. She realizes that and that's when Letty realizes, hey, you're the one that gave me that money, and everything, clicks to her. Like, no, her mom didn't leave her no money. Christina gave her that money, and now she knows this is why Christina gave me that money. She wanted me to be in this house. She knows who Hiram was, and it's all coming together for her.
Yeah. And just go back to before when we were talking about his dad. It's funny that he read the whole thing. He got to live with it for a little while. And one thing I like about this show and this family, I mean, the father-son relationship is messed up. But one thing I love about the family is they love to read. Mm-hmm. Like, reading is fundamental to them. So it's crazy that the father actually, because he has a lot of information. Mm-hmm. He got a lot of information out of that. So maybe, he was going crazy at that point, just thinking and just thinking about the past, crying, sweating, drinking, is because that's a lot of deep shit to take in.
Right. And especially if him and George, or at least George used to read these type of books, Tick reads these type of books, and it's like reading Harry Potter and then finding out one day that there are witches and wizards and all this stuff. Like, you be free. Now you have to reread it. Like, oh shit, let me see what it was saying. Because this whole time I was just thinking it was for entertainment. And,
right.
When Tick and Letty finally meet up, and she kind of confronts him on trying to kill Christina, and then she meets him at the library, and then she's like, man, your dad probably has already read all this shit. Like, she knows that he knows more.
Well, I think his dad read all of it once he found out about his wife. He wanted to find his wife's past because his dad doesn't read these type of books.
Yeah.
Him and his uncle read these books, but his dad don't see the benefits in reading these books by these white authors.
Right. But that's when Tick sees that the dad did rent all those books. His name's in all the library books.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he started reading it once he wanted to investigate or research.
Before he left out of town. When he went missing. Okay. Well, Montrose tells him, to stay away from this grand wizardy shit. I thought that was funny. And he's like, you can't win. There's no way to win. And, I'm not telling you any information I know. And Letty was kind of pissed off. And she's like, you know what? That's where he gets being an asshole from, is you. Because you're an asshole. You have information that can help, but you're not willing to help.
I think by not giving information would have been more help if the lady didn't show up at that time.
If Christina
never
showed up, they might have just went on about their merry way. They might have just let everything happen, just let it be in the past and move on. And speaking of Christina, you see how, we talked about this before, like how white women still were not treated right, because here she is, these white men are mad and pissed off that she's coming into town. They were mad and pissed off that she was at the Men for Adams or whatever meeting. And she's brought into the captain's office, literally escorted there. And he tells her, you need to stay out of this. Even cunts aren't allowed. That's what he tells her.
Yeah, well, he didn't say even cunts aren't allowed. She said that he's not an actual member. She don't remember his membership. And he's telling her, I know for sure you didn't get yours. And that's what we call her a cunt.
Yeah, he said no cunts allowed.
No cunts allowed. So, yeah. And this goes back to what I was saying, that there's going to always be somebody to look down on and hate.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there was no African American here, you see the white women didn't get treated right.
Right.
They weren't getting treated right at all. They couldn't get involved in the little lodges. Although she put in all that work, she helped out.
Mm-hmm.
She the one who cast the spells. At one point, they couldn't get jobs.
Yep.
Remember, I don't think they start working until, I can't remember which war that was. When all the guys went to war, so the women had to go out and get jobs.
Right.
I got to do more research on that. But I think that's factual.
Well, they discuss a time machine, which is interesting, which I think that's what Hippolyta has, based on how they described it. And I like how Christina tries to play dumb about knowing why Letty is in the house, because she's like, how'd you let black people move in there? Like, I'm surprised that ever happened, knowing that she's the one that gave them the money and told them, like, hey, buy this house.
She's the one that put the plan into motion.
Right.
Which we see why. We found out last week that she's the one that gave her the money. And now we know why she gave her the money and why she wanted that particular house.
Mm-hmm.
And that house is a lodge, or it belongs to the lodge.
Mm-hmm.
But if it belongs to his lodge or him and his fella's lodge, then how is he not a member?
Who, the captain?
Right.
I don't know.
Or is he he's just a Mason, but he's not a member of
the Sons of Adam.
Sons of Adam. Maybe that's what she meant. That he still looked at, like, remember the first episode? I think it was the first episode or second, when she said the Masons are too poor.
Mm-hmm. The KKK is too poor.
Oh, the KKK.
Yeah.
Yeah, the KKK is too poor. Well, maybe that part of the Masonry or whatever, maybe that part of it is the poor part. They're not as, I guess, rich as all the guys from the Sons of Adam.
Maybe. I'm actually a little confused on that part, that his relation, the captain's relation to everything, I'm still not for sure exactly what that has to do with everything else.
Right. And I'm not sure of the order, because it was confusing when he's telling her that this is my lodge or this belongs to my lodge, and she's telling him that she don't recall his initiation or whatever.
Well, a few things here. We see Hippolyta and Dee are going with him, which is going to be interesting. Hippolyta is not letting that shit go. She's still suspicious, and she still has her own work to do, because she wants to still make sure the maps are up to date and everything like that.
Right. And she's running the business solo.
Yep.
Well, and her daughter.
And yeah. All right, poor Ruby. She goes to the department store, and it's so sad that it's like this, because it's even sadder that it's like in some ways still this way. And that is the department store she's been dreaming of getting the job at. She goes up to, and she realizes that they already have a black woman working there who just applied. And I thought Ruby had already applied, and that's why she was mad someone else got it. But later on, when she's messing around with William, she lets us know, like, she never applied because she was so busy getting the house in order with her sister.
Yeah.
So Ruby, knowing how things are, that's their token black woman. They're not going to hire more than one black woman, because then next thing you know, the customers are going to get anxious. They're going to get upset. if there's too many black people. They'll probably excuse one, let there be one in there. Then sometimes that's what they do. A lot of companies still do that, where they have one and try to say, oh, we have diversity. There goes Tyrone right there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, so I felt bad for her because I know how it is today, so I can only imagine how it was, 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's like that with jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We found out a couple of years ago, it's like that with clubs.
Yep.
They have a certain amount of black people they can let in with some clubs.
Even on TV shows. I mean, that's why it's always impressive when you see like a all black cast, especially on a big network like HBO, because a lot of your favorite TV shows will have the token black person. They'll have that one black character. Maybe, the best friend. Usually it's the best friend or the next door neighbor or something like that.
We find out on the show Friends that they actually had to fight for that black person.
Right.
Fight to get a black person on the show. The cast.
And a lot of these shows, they don't usually get the black person until the third, fourth season. They got to be successful before they finally dip in and let a person of color come on the show, too.
But did you hear me? It wasn't the creator. It wasn't the producer. It wasn't the director. It was actually the cast that fought to get a black person on their show.
Mm-mm-mm.
Crazy.
And that's why it's so important for everyone, regardless if you're in the front of the camera, behind the camera, to always speak up.
Well, speaking of that, do you think things are going to change now that the Academy Awards have changed their criteria?
That's going to be interesting if other award shows will follow, such as the Emmys or the Golden Globes. I read the distinctions that they had, and they weren't too like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get jobs done now, or how are we going to get movies done now? They were pretty simple. It was pretty much just. And it was not even just all black. It was hire someone of color, or hire LGBT, or hire women. And they've been fighting for the women movement for many years now. And that's good. That's always good. But it needs to also include women of color. And that's another thing that I think Viola Davis, she's talked about, how she's such a good actress, and she should be on the same caliber as Meryl Streep. But her pockets don't look like Meryl Streep. Her opportunities don't look like Meryl Streep. They actually call her the Black Meryl Streep, which is so insulting.
That is.
So we've seen movement for women. I would say in these last 10 years, we've seen a lot of white women get opportunities where they're leading roles. Almost half the movies I feel that come out are white women in leading roles, and we just need to make sure that everyone's getting those opportunities. Well, not
as of recent.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking within the last 10 years, we've seen the Twilights, we've seen the Hunger Games. We're seeing these white women in roles, and you get the black roles every once in a blue moon, or even Asians. Crazy Rich Asians was so big because it was like the first big mainstream all cast Asian movie.
Well, let's not get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
When we speak of white women in leading roles, there has been movies with white women in leading roles that have been successful, but the ones that has really been successful has a full-on male supporting cast, like nothing but men around them.
Yeah,
I think the all women, no matter what color, the all white women roles or movies are not as successful. They're still fighting to, I guess, get their little breakout. Because what movie came out not too long ago with an all white female cast?
I don't know. Little Women came out.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, I was talking about before that.
But Ghostbusters.
But if you really look at it, or look at what it did in the box office, they're still fighting to get that box office smash, or get recognized, because even when they come out with they have to specify like, oh, this all woman cast, like when they specify, oh, this all black movie, or this black movie,
right,
or all black cast. It's when it's an all woman cast, no matter black, white, it's never just a movie.
Yeah, they always specify. Even Terminator, the new Terminator movie, I thought was really good, and I didn't even know it was supposed to be like women leading. I just saw the trailer and I was like, oh, that looks good, action packed. And then later on, right before it came out, they were discussing like, yeah, it's like women led movie, and I'm like, oh, it is. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice in the trailer that it was 3 women. It just looks really good. But once again, now that you've highlighted that it's all women, now like there's people that want to take a stand, like a protest that it's all women or whatever, and like bash the movie before even seeing it.
Right.
I thought that Terminator movie
specify, you know, movies. If it's not a majority white male cast, then believe me, they're gonna specify what it is. Oh, this is the first time in history that a majority black cast ever, you know, fuck out of here. It really is not the first time in history. It's the first time y'all recognized it.
Yeah. Well, going back to the show, we see a few things happen. They're at the museum, and Seymour, the one that claimed hooked up with Letty in high school, Letty let him know, which means Tick told Letty what he said. And Letty, because he was like, yeah, people used to call me Tree, you know? And then she's like, oh, well, I guess I would already know that since, you know, we hooked up in high school. And he was so pissed later on when he goes up to Tick. He tries to piss Tick off. He calls him a pussy and all this other stuff. And then insinuates that maybe Tick's dad is gay. You know, because he says, you know, were you mad at me because I sent you back there when he was hooking up, and you know your dad is real close with them too. And Seymour is just messy. Whether it's true or not true, he's a liar. We know that for a fact, and he's just messy.
He is a liar, and it seems like Tick don't really care.
Yeah, no, Tick wasn't sweating him.
Like Tick said when he started speaking about it, is that, hey, I don't care what his sexuality is.
Yeah.
I think Tick was uncomfortable because any situation you walk into, like it could have been a woman back there giving a guy head.
Yeah. I think he'd have been like, oops, my bad.
Yeah, like, oh my God, you know, wrong timing.
Right. Well, Hippolyta and Dee are looking up at like some type of solar display, and they look at a comet, and she tells Dee that, you know, I named that comet. They didn't allow it to give me credit because they weren't going to let a black girl's name be on the credit. So actually they named it, they let a girl, like a niece of one of the astronauts, I don't know, a niece of one of the scientists in NASA, his niece, get credit for it, but she knows at least that she's the one that officially named it. And Dee screams out loud like, my mama named that comet or whatever. And I thought that was so sweet that like Dee was supportive of her mom, and it
was.
And that type of shit happens all the time back then. All the time. Not the black women, when people of color just in general not getting the credit for stuff that either they discovered or stuff that they did. There's so many things that people don't even know that like black people are responsible for, and you just assume that it was like some old white guy, because they don't teach you that in school of all the things that we've accomplished.
And now I think it's like a promotion tool. Like when they start talking about Jack Daniel, so the black guy in the picture was really the one making it, or is the one responsible for the recipe.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that.
Oh yeah, they tried to market it, promote it heavy.
Well, let's real quickly talk about William and Ruby, and then we'll get to the rest of the show, even though it kind of cut in here and there. So we do first see William. He's back with Christina. He has her back because she was getting followed. He goes out there and beats those, it looks like officers. He beats the officers down and says Christina doesn't like being watched or followed. Then cut to the next time we see him, he's over there flirting with Ruby at the bar, saying he can change her life forever.
I could change your life.
Not your night, but your life.
And I'm not lying. I'm not like the rest of these guys.
Yeah. So at first it does seem like Ruby's not impressed. She's like, you don't need to buy me drinks. I can buy my own drinks. And I don't want no white boy and da-da-da-da. And this ain't no come and try to get some little black woman. And for the first time, nah, it's not like that over here. But eventually, she does talk about her sister. She does tell him a little bit more than she probably should. But they hook up. So
because he did the player rule number 1.
Which is what?
Listen. Let women talk.
Yeah.
That's where we be messing up.
Yeah.
When men mess up, we want to say something. We want to tell you what you did wrong in that situation and all this. All we got to do is listen.
Yeah. Now, was that their house? Was that the house that she shares with Letty? And
yes.
So he was trying to get in that house.
Yes.
And he's probably going to be trying to look for the thing that Hippolyta stole.
Right.
The time machine. So it's in a good way. It's a good thing that Hippolyta stole it. Because they won't find it there.
But I wonder where he still changed her life.
I wonder how he's going to change her life. She mentioned wanting to work at that store, and he said, well, why don't you still apply? And she's like, no, it's not like that for me as it is for you. So who knows? Next week we may see Ruby have her dream job.
Right.
You know? All right, so on their mission here, we see Letty's leading
hold
the
on
group.
for a second. That's not really life changing though.
For her, it is. Like,
I know,
imagine
but
when you never
sad.
want that dream job.
But that's sad that life changing would be her still have to work for her money.
Yeah, life changing would be you don't have to work no more. That's life changing.
She need to be a kept woman.
But yeah, you know, I know how it is. I've wanted a job so bad where I've thought, like, if I could just get this job, things will turn around. So, like, I know that feeling of wanting something so bad, and then I can look back now on it and be like, man, that wasn't shit. But, like, you know, at the time, it was gonna be life changing. So for me. All right, so Letty, she's leading the group, and, you know, you tell she is pissed at Tick, and Montrose is giving Tick love advice, and saying, hey, you need to apologize, and blah, blah, and they're going on so much. This mission is kind of scary. It starts off a little weird. They go down the tunnel. The scary part was when they crossed the bridge, and the bridge started disappearing on them.
Right. And first of all, it was just weird because I think it got really weird when we saw the body that was buried in a house floating in the water.
Yes. Well. See, I still didn't catch it because when Letty said, "Wait, I think that was one of the people that went missing in my neighborhood," and I was thinking, Letty, didn't you guys know they went missing? Like, didn't you guys? I figured they hid the bodies down there, but she made it sound like this is the guy that went missing, not this is the guy whose body we hid. You know?
Yeah. So obviously they didn't hide the body.
They didn't hide the body then. But
the house hid the body.
When you said it, you're like, that place is going to lead back to their house somehow. Even though we know they're...
It had to.
Yeah. But they're miles and miles away from their house.
Right.
But you said it when we were watching. You're like, that's going to lead back to their house. And then sure enough, when it showed the elevator, I'm like, that is the type of elevator she has in the house. But still, I was not for sure on it. But I think the crazy part was when they meet Yahimia, the woman, man, two spirits thing person. And she was dead, and she was like a skeleton when they first approach her, and she comes back to life, and she pretty much tells them that, you know, they killed my family, imprisoned her, blah, blah, blah. She ain't gonna offer anyone else help after that happened to her. But Tick is pretty much begging, like, please help me so I can protect my family.
All right, now, here's the $1 million question.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be asked for so many other situations, but this pertains to this situation. How the hell do you think you're the son of Adam if you have to go to a native, someone else, to translate the sons of Adam secrets to activate whatever you're trying to activate? If you're the son of Adam, shouldn't you be able to read that and no one else? You had to go to another culture.
Because he's the son of Adam, who Adam is a colonizer. So just like they, you know, kind of reminds me of on Black Panther when they're in the museum and he goes, you know, did you guys pay a fair price, or you took it like you took everything else? So these places and these people are claiming stuff as their own, not giving the full history behind, yes, it's your own after you stole it from someone else. You know, after...
Well, me and you are still on the different pages, but we're on the same page. Like, obviously, you're not the son of Adam. Y'all just named yourself that.
Son of Adam's, yeah.
You named yourself. Actually, whoever you had to go to translate that for you to get where you need to go, they're the true sons and daughters or whatever you want to call your organization. It's like now you're, like you said, stealing their culture. You're claiming it as your own, but you still need them to go through with it.
Right.
You still need them to get you to the other side.
Now, once they finally get back home, I don't even know what they were going to tell Dee or tell Hippolyta. Like, how did they even get in touch with them to say, hey, we found an alternate route back home somehow, or go without us? I don't know what lie they came up with.
Yeah, what can you say?
I don't even know. What can you say? But because we do see Hippolyta, and she's pissed. She's in the car with Dee, and Dee's drawing in her dad's atlas, and that's when that's when Hippolyta sees something marked on the map, and she's like, we're not going home. We're going to go here. So it looks like she's going to where they went a few episodes ago, to the lodge that's burned down.
Yeah.
And hopefully she's careful, because we know for them to have gotten to where they had to go through sundown towns and how dangerous it was. And I know those police officers were killed, but they're probably replaced with new racist officers by now.
Hopefully it's not as dangerous for women.
Yeah.
Maybe women are not seen as much of a threat than them guys were.
Yeah. I mean, it could be even more of a threat. They may just kill or rape her. Who knows what they would do.
Could be.
You know?
But I'm just saying, hopefully it's not like that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be those people that say in the book or talk about the book. But in the book, she's actually the one who did all the traveling, did majority of the traveling.
So maybe it was safer for women.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it could have been safer for women because they didn't seem as much of a threat.
Well, when they finally make it back on the elevator with the map or whatever they were looking for, because we saw that Letty had to go back, almost died to get it, which, you know, she's showing each week that she's super brave and like takes so many chances and does what she needs to do, and she's fearless. I'm really liking her character. But they get back there in the home. I don't know how they even let Yahima, or whatever her name is, Yamita, kind of like stay in there. They're like, oh, you know, hopefully she's okay. And like, you know, she can't talk. She's a siren. That's probably because they didn't want, that's a spell they put on her so she wouldn't be able to give her secrets. But I'm like, how are you guys not still freaking out? This lady was a skeleton a few minutes ago. You know?
I mean, they've seen so much since then.
Yeah.
Well, not since then, but before then.
Yeah.
As they seen the little pig people or whatever, the big monsters.
Yeah. So, of course, the unexpected, but sort of expected, because when Montrose goes in the room with her and closes the door, I'm like, that's a little inappropriate. You don't close the door you're in this room with this woman that you don't know, you know, without her permission. And he says sorry and slits her throat and kills her. So, theories on why do you think he did what he did?
I still think he don't want his son going any further. He knows what's going to happen. He knows he read the whole book.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys in that lodge, that was a part of the lodge, you know, they haven't read the book. So it was only reserved for like the big guy or blood.
Yeah.
It was reserved for blood relatives. So he actually read it, and he knows how dangerous it is and the dangers to come. You know, he read the whole book because he know codes, shortcuts. I mean, this dude have so much knowledge of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have made it this far without Montrose, because when the bridge was coming down, when the bridge was disappearing, Montrose the one is that figured out the code to get into the door. So he's also the one that knew that the map, when Letty broke the map out of the glass case, he knew that, you know, that's what we need. So,
and not only that, he's also the one. Well, Letty pointed out the route, but he said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You know, this, I guess this tunnel
was made after
they took a voyage somewhere.
Yeah, yep. So we'll see. I don't know how he's going to hide Yahamada being dead from them. I don't know, whatever her name is. So I don't know how he's going to explain that, or if he's going to say, hey, she slit her own throat.
Maybe the house going to hide her.
Or she disappears. Yeah, maybe he's like, I slit her throat because this shit needs to be done.
Right. But that was my theory. My theory is he's still keeping his word, keeping up with the promise of trying to keep his son, Letty, and, you know, the rest of George's family and his family safe.
Right. All right. Well, that is all we got, you guys. We would love to hear from you, hear your feedback. Host at theverdictsend.com. That's HOST at theverdictsend.com. Or hit us up on Twitter at theverdictsend or facebook.com/verdictsend, and we will discuss your feedback on the podcast. Until then, I'm Nicole.
I'm Gary.
Bye.